Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you're all full to the brim of chocolate cake pops. Just wanted to remind you that if you find one of the badges and want to pick up a copy of the book, they're sat with Grace at the registration desk. So I'll keep pushing it until you take them. So somebody please find them and take them. I don't want to carry them home with me. I didn't bring a jacket with me because I needed the space in my luggage for 10 books. Also at the registration desk, we're giving away free massages. So as soon as you leave here, if you go and see Grace at the registration desk, you can sign up for a free massage this afternoon. So make sure you do that as soon as you leave here. Next up, different to the scheduled appearance, we have our illustrious leader, founder and CEO, Matt Macri-Waller, and product manager, Matt Nathanielsz. And they will be talking humans, the need to belong and be recognized, and showing you our amazing new recognition app. So please put your hands together for the two Matts.
Or the one Matt initially. Hello. Apologies. You should never start a presentation with an apology, right? But I'm going to in this instance. So having started from my home destination at 6:44, to not get to Waterloo till 10:44 was a slight shock and a slight stress. So I'm definitely going for a massage later. That sounded weird. No, in the middle of Soho to say that, unfortunately Gethin led that one in. Anyway, this probably would have made sense a bit earlier on, but I just wanted to say firstly a massive kind of, I guess, a formal welcome to you all. In kind of our ever busier events calendar of the year, I love these events because I think it's a real opportunity to get lots of clients together and really kind of share, both from expert speakers, but also from all of you in the room, some of the things that you're kind of thinking about, what challenges are you wrestling with, and some of the best things I see is kind of the interaction between each other during these days. But I think that it's become kind of tradition that kind of before I get into kind of the main meat of what I wanted to talk about today, just to kind of do a quick kind of recap on kind of just the end of 2017, because I'm conscious that it's been kind of 6 months since we were all together like this as part of that. And so I just wanted to kind of share with you, lots happened for us in 2017, and I'm sure lots happened for all of you in all of your organizations. And I think that, from our perspective, pretty much every metric that we measure, whether it's number of countries that we're in, number of employees on our platform, rebranding the whole business, repositioning what we do, a whole new set of products that we launched, a whole new set of features that we launched. Every single metric that we measure across the business improved and increased significantly during 2017. The other thing we really focused on doing is to really start to analyze how we're servicing and working with you as clients. And we continue to try and improve all of those processes around kind of client success, what we share with you, how frequently we share it with you, and those kind of things. In addition, some of the stuff you told us last year you really wanted to see was us starting to really focus on how could we automate more and more of what we do with you. So whether that's integrating with Workday or SAP or Sage or people like SD-Works, we really are focused on automating as much as we possibly can within the product for you. But I think the interesting thing for me is that this is kind of the obligatory bragging moment, but I think actually what we wanted to do was actually just focus on 3 key stats that we monitor as a business that are all actually centered around the same thing. And they're all about how do we deliver value back to you, ultimately. So the first one that I wanted to share was really about a task that we set ourselves probably a couple of years ago now, and it will continue to be an ongoing focus for us. And that focus has really been that in the market, particularly in the benefits market, a lot of the platforms that you see have historically been quite annual in their usage. So people go in once a year, they make their choices, they kind of forget about it. And a couple of years ago, when we launched Anytime Benefits and a number of other kind of features that we have launched and will be launching, we really wanted to focus on making it more of a place that people would go to more often. So trying to really make each of your platforms more of a destination that people would go to. So to support that, what we actually started doing internally was monitoring how many people were going on a monthly basis. So we talk about monthly active users internally quite a lot. And that focus for us has really been trying to understand what gets people to come back. Because if they're coming back and looking at benefits or looking at new content or learning something new or making a new choice or a selection, whatever it might be is the reason that they're going there. Assuming that their journey is positive and constructive and that they get something out of that, the real focus for us has therefore been how do we enable more of your employees to get more value from the product by going there more often. And during the last year, we've actually managed to increase monthly active users by over 200%. Now, we've got more to do, And everything you'll see from us this year is very much pointed at how do we help you get people into there more often to do what they need to do and get value from the product for you. The other two stats I just wanted to share with you all represent, as I said, about how we get more value out for clients. And then the first one is really just, we aim to save clients money. Let's be clear about that. And that money saving comes from a number of places. It comes from things like discounts and cashback, where we're saving employees money. It comes from things like tax and national insurance savings, where we're structuring everything in the most efficient way possible. It comes from things like savings in terms of broking and the benefit costs that you have. But for us, in the last year, we've actually returned over 45 million in savings around tax and social security to our clients. And alongside that, we've actually turned over 40 million back to employees in terms of savings. And that figure that's on the left, you can actually see in a dashboard. So if any of you log into your dashboard, you can see real time how much we're actually saving you within the benefit structure that you have. And later this year, you'll actually be able to see what we're saving employees as well as part of that. Okay. Enough bragging, done. 2017, done. So history. Okay, I'm conscious that obviously I'm here today to talk about a very specific topic, as Gethin said earlier on. But I just wanted to start with a little video that kind of positions that for us.
Hi, I am Amelia. I am your new workplace artificial intelligence. I hope you are all excited to be here at the Benefex Client Forum. Have you ever thought about a time when this will be a normal conversation at work? Do you think you will enjoy it? Do you think I will? Will I ever truly belong in your organization? Although I never get tired, never need to sleep, or eat, or take any kind of break, will I be able to belong? Will you want me to? Will I ever be treated as a human?
Okay. Just to kind of precursor that, I'm not going to answer any existential questions about AI and where it fits in the world. But I just thought it was a useful framing, because what we started thinking about 18 months ago was really this idea that when you join an organization, or when you join a group, or when you join a collection of people who are focused on achieving the same goal or the same mission, how do you really get those people to feel like they belong? And how are organizations actually leaning into these kind of quite primal behaviors that there are for individuals and for human beings, of really the need to belong and the need to be recognized as part of that? Okay. I'm going to kind of go through just a little bit of kind of background as to kind of the thinking that we had, and then I'll invite Matt up later to kind of show you what we've been doing as a result of that. But I think that we've certainly seen in the last 24 months that organizations are rapidly accelerating towards this idea of creating and crafting great employee experiences. And that they're doing it on the basis of really looking to design experiences that really fit with their organization and their culture and their people. And it's that real shift towards really kind of making sure that you build an experience with the thought and the effort and energy behind it. But I think there's kind of three real trends that are driving that. And whether you want to call them macro trends, market trends, or whatever, I think there are three real trends driving that change. The first one that we see is this drive to consumerization. And this won't be new news to any of you, but it's this desire from every individual to actually be able to access technology in a way that it just works. In the way that we access any other application and it just works for us, whether that is Amazon, whether that is ASOS, whether that's Skyscanner, whatever the application is, it just works in the way that you need it to work, and it answers and solves a problem for you. And really the expectation has been set that organizationally, we need to deliver that kind of change and that kind of progress, and we need to make sure that we live up to that standard. The second big change is this drive towards personalization. So this drive to make things speak to me as an individual. You have a huge amount of data on me. Can you talk to me in a way that shows me you've understood those things about me? And then can it learn over time so that it makes sure it targets things to me that are very personalized and that I'm going to be interested in? And the third one is this real drive for simplicity. So it's this drive to make things simple. So take the load off me and make the technology do it, so that all I have to do is the very minimum I need to do to make a decision, to interact, to engage, to be involved. To put this in a slightly different way, and to think about it from a product perspective, kind of the different strands that we tend to actually kind of linking these two are, from a consumer perspective, it's very much about linking that to the user experience. So how do we build a great user experience within the product and the tool that makes you want to use it, gets you the information that you need, and is just literally seamless, simple, and streamlined? The second area is then how do we enable data to personalize what we offer you and what we give you every single day. And so obviously we hold a huge amount of data, every organization does, but very few organizations are actually using the power in that data to really look to personalize to individuals. And then the last one is really this whole concept around AI and certainly machine learning, which is really this idea of what can the machines start to do around that enable you to focus on either just the task or just the decision or get back to work and whatever you might be doing. So I think when you think about experiences and you think about the way the market's moving towards them, I think what's really interesting is that whenever we go and meet with clients and they're designing experiences, they talk to us about a range of different behaviors or feelings that they're trying to get from their employees. And you can kind of pick any one of them on here to kind of indicate or signify what those feelings might be. But I think what's really interesting in every single organization when we talk to them is that when they're trying to build these experiences, that they're thinking about them as kind of individual loops or individual journeys for each part of that. And so whether you're looking at kind of I believe, I belong, or whatever it is that we're trying to create as a feeling, the really interesting thing about building it in this kind of looped way is actually what you start to see is more and more organizations are kind of actually centering it around the same thing. And what's interesting for us is that actually every single organization that we've worked with in the last 12 months who is doing the employee experience piece well is following the same framework. And I don't mean they've got a model or a kind of silver bullet or anything else, but they're following this framework that actually recognizes the people that work in your organization. And I don't mean that just by, I know Mary and she does X, or I know Fred and he does Y. I mean it in the context of thinking about them as human beings. And so I think that, I'm always amazed when we go through and look at individual kind of processes or journeys or loops that people go through, and you look at the kind of ups and downs that the employee feels on the end of those experiences, that actually so often, and more often than not, it's actually the impact on the individual human that gets forgotten. We design an incredibly efficient process, or we just live with the technology limitation, or some combination of all of those, forgetting that there's a person who actually needs to do this in the middle. I'll give you an absolutely classic example. A client who shall remain nameless, rolling out an enormous project which covered shared services and benefits and lots of other things. In the HR pieces of that, they were launching self-service. That's not a new thing, but it was for this organization particularly, and certainly for certain pockets of it, it was brand new. On launch, 80% of that self-service application was still in German. So they designed an amazing process, they built an enormous structure around it, but actually, most of the people couldn't use it because they don't actually speak German. So it's just kind of things like that you see over and over again, that when you're designing these experiences kind of get a little bit forgotten. So appreciate the whole thing about human first, might sound obvious, but I think we so often see it forgotten when people are designing these processes. And then when you think about kind of humans in, joining an organization, at the end of the day, what is an organization? So an organization, whether you call it a culture, a cult, a tribe, an organization, a group, whatever you might call it, it is a collection of people who believe in a specific goal or outcome. In the best organizations. And so they're working towards that kind of shared goal and shared focus. And what's really interesting in that is when you have that group come together, however big that group is, human emotions start to really take over and take hold when you're kind of in that group or in that tribe. And if I just talk about that in a bit more detail, there is a very basic human need that goes back millions and millions of years, which is about our need to belong. It's about our need to feel ultimately part of something and accepted by your kind of chosen group. And it's literally hardwired into our brains to actually think about, there's a desire there to feel part of something. We need to be a member, we need to belong, we need to feel security and safety and connection and acceptance and lots of other feelings as well. And there is tons and tons of research that backs this up. But more often than not, what we see is actually people forgetting this kind of basic need to belong and forgetting some of the kind of core mechanisms that there are to actually enable someone to feel like they do belong. Now, interestingly, in all that research, there's a huge, huge link between someone's feeling like they belong and the belief in how they've been recognized as being part of that group and part of that tribe or part of that organization. And what's really interesting in that is actually, when you start to drill down, recognition in front of and a kind of across your social group is a hugely, hugely powerful tool to make you feel like you belong. And that's got to be visible, it's got to be public, it's got to be, whether it's by someone who's a peer to you or a senior to you or junior to you or whoever it's from, it's about the fact that it's really a case of surfacing this recognition in a very public way so that everybody can see that and everyone can feel part and parcel of the group and like they belong. It's actually extremely accentuated when you start to look at the youngest people starting to come into the workforce. There was a study done recently where 81% of the people who were asked said they would be happy to take less pay if the organisation committed to regular, consistent feedback and recognition when they did something well. And I think what organisations are struggling with is this instantaneousness that those people are requiring the feedback and requiring the recognition to happen. And I think it's just a whole shift that's really happening in the market. And I don't think it's necessarily unique to younger people. I don't really want to jump on that bandwagon. But I do think that there is this desire and need to belong when you join an organisation. So about a year ago now, we started to really spend quite a lot of time on this. We really spent quite a lot of time trying to think about, okay, when you're building these experiences and you're thinking about human beings, how many organizations are actually really able to kind of lean into this idea of actually someone being made to feel like they belong? And how is the industry actually really starting to think about how we recognize people, which helps drive that feeling of belonging as well? And so we've spent a lot of time thinking, which was good. But we also then spent a lot of time working out what we really want to do about that and where we'd really like to go forwards and try and change what's going on in the market. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite the other Matt up on stage so that Matt can kind of really take you guys through what we've done and what we've really been working on. Matt?
Cool. Thanks for the intro, Matt. So it really is an amazing time to be part of Benefex. There's so many exciting things happening right now and so many more coming very, very soon. No more so than, of course, recognition. It's something that we, as Matt said, we started developing last year. But I guess before we look at where we are now with recognition, it'd be a really good idea just to take a step back and look at the wider industry in terms of where recognition is positioned and, of course, look at how we've approached it. So taking the industry as a whole, workplace recognition is largely quite dated and behind the times. It's certainly in need of a revamp. It typically follows a top-down approach, often instigated by HR or by management, and is certainly not often sort of peer-to-peer led. And certainly the recognitions themselves are quite often still focused or heavily focused on length of service awards, where carriage clocks and retail vouchers still remain commonplace. But did you know that 87% of all recognition programs today still focus on length of service awards? To put that into a bit of perspective, the average length of employment for, and I hate to use the word millennial, is typically less than 5 years, often around about 4.5 years. With typical service awards starting from 5 years onwards, you can appreciate that for a large amount of employees, they could go the full term of employment without ever really receiving the proper recognition they deserve. And all that means is that recognition, in a sense, has become more of a formality or an afterthought. It's certainly not that genuine act of appreciation at the right moment, at the right time. And all it means ultimately is that that moment, that special thank you moment when it's really needed, when it's really wanted or deserved, is quite often missed. But taking all that, it's certainly not small business. Did you know that we spend around £62 billion globally on employee recognition across its all various forms? But I guess the question is, what value do clients get for that? The money that you spend, is that really generating and producing the outcomes that you're all hoping for? So what are these outcomes? What is it that we're looking for? What is it that an employee recognition program can bring to you, to your organisation, to your employees? There's been lots and lots of studies that have looked at those benefits. One in particular came from the US, where they surveyed a whole bunch of different organisations and talked to employees, and they found that 78% of workers said that being recognised motivated them when they were at work. And 69% said they'd work harder if they felt that their efforts were being more or better appreciated. Other findings included the ability to create a more cohesive, more engaged workforce, more closely aligned to your company values, your company culture, your company cornerstones, the ability to retain your top talent, and ultimately have the power to make your employees feel valued within the organization. So why recognition? Why now? What's the significance? Well, part of that is down to yourselves. So 12 months ago, at this very same venue, our last Winter Forum, we asked you to vote on what you wanted us to focus on next from a product perspective. And overwhelmingly, 62% of you said recognition. That was the one thing that you'd identified as having the greatest potential to drive positive change throughout your organization. And I think in doing so, it really confirmed its position on our future product roadmap. So when we started to think about how to approach recognition, we identified a number of key drivers, things that we deemed to be essential in being able to build a successful product that we could then launch to all of our clients. Sort of things that came up were, how can we create a product that was really, really simple to use, simple enough that it would encourage people to come back to it and use it frequently and be able to drive and encourage high usage, but also have the ability to retain those users by being highly engaging and highly innovative and deliver an instant experience. And ultimately, most importantly, how can we create something that's built with people in mind and not the workplace? Something that focuses on the everyday interactions that we all consume across all different aspects of our lives, and it's not just limited to the expectations that we quite often associate with the workplace, which, let's be honest, for a lot of people is not always the best experience. I think one of those, or certainly the biggest daily interaction that most of us have, possibly all of us have, occurs via social media. So some of the stats that came out from the back end of last year amazingly showed that Facebook have 1.37 billion daily active users. Instagram, 500 million. And Twitter, around 150 million daily active users. So I think it's clearly evident that the world has become more social. We have become more social. We said that we want to interact, we want to engage. So for us, social and social interaction is a huge, huge driver for us when it comes to thinking about how we deliver recognition. And to put that again into perspective, with around 80% of all social media activity being consumed via mobile, it's clear that having a social mobile product is hugely important to us. It's imperative to us. I think it just emphasizes those being the two key drivers in our thinking as we moved through the development phase of recognition, social and mobile. One of the biggest questions that we always ask when we look at sort of introducing a new product, and we do it with all new products, is a question of, is it something that we should partner with somebody else? Is there somebody else out there that can deliver a great service? We should partner with them to deliver it. Or is it something that we should deliver, or we should build, I should say, ourselves? And I think in this case, after assessing the marketplace, looking at what was out there, assessing the product and their features and their offerings, and then comparing that back to our key drivers and the requirements that we're looking to get and the outcomes that we're looking to achieve, is there something out there that could deliver that? I think ultimately we found that there wasn't. The majority of the products that we're seeing were quite old, quite clunky, quite set in their ways, often fairly limited and mundane in terms of the offering or the features that they had. But I guess most importantly, there were very few examples of that social element, that social interaction, and not hugely mobile-oriented across the market, obviously our two key drivers. And that ultimately led us to the decision that this is something that we really need to build ourselves if we want it to have the impact that we know it needs to have. I think in doing so, we were quite brave in saying that we want to be kind of the first to start to shift the market in a new direction, one where we look to harness the power, the true power of social engagement and interaction, and obviously benefit from the truly amazing aspects of being a truly mobile product. And it was exactly that concept that we shared with some of you, or most of you potentially, at our last forum back in the summer in July, in the form of a prototype app. We believe it's really, really important to keep our clients really close to that development phase, as we like to do with all new products, so you can try and help to shape our future product roadmap and ensure that we're delivering the right feature, the right functionality that would ultimately drive the benefits and the outcomes that we know that you're looking for. The feedback we received off the back of the demo back in July was fantastic, and again, it just helped to confirm that we were on the right path. Social and mobile were, again, things that resonated with you, with your employees as you saw them, and would obviously fit across your organizations. Also like to take this opportunity to say thank you. I know that since July, we've been out to speak to a number of you. Some of you have been to the office. You've helped with demos, providing feedback, testing, offering suggestions. And again, we think that's a really important process and something that we'd like to continue to do as we move towards our first release of recognition. And I guess one of the final parts of our sort of product development cycle is to get to the product to a point where we can actually start to test it for real. So we did that at the back end of last year in November. We ran an internal trial of recognition at Benefex. It spanned across 3 countries, across 3 continents, and had around 30% of participants who were remote workers. So that gave us a really fantastic platform to test the concept and test the product against. The trial itself was hugely successful. It sort of reinforced some of the great features and functionality that we'd instilled within the product. But of course, it also highlighted some areas that we'd missed. Perhaps there was some functionality that we thought would be highly adopted or would be really, really sort of well taken to, and perhaps it wasn't. Perhaps there was something that we'd missed completely, just completely overlooked. And again, whether kind of positive or negative, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, all of the feedback we received was positive in helping us to move forward with the product development and help us to be able to deliver something that's truly, truly fantastic in terms of the way that people start to interact with their colleagues. So I guess it's probably enough talking about it. It's about time to actually show you. So let's take a look. Any moment now? Fantastic. Thank you. So I guess it still kind of amazes me, the beauty or the power. I think we quite often can take it for granted, the amount of power we have in our hands or in our pockets or in our bags every day, and the ability to be able to launch a product with so many features, so much functionality, so much power at the touch of a button. I think it's just sort of reflection of the truly mobile world we live in. We take that kind of impact and power for granted. So as you can see, the product itself, this is our brand new recognition app, has a heavy, heavy focus on this social element. So hopefully that type of layout and that experience is something that would resonate with the majority of you, or hopefully all of you, in the other types of products that you'll use throughout every different aspect of your life, whether it's kind of Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. Again, there's a real onus in the world that we live in right now to be able to share and be able to celebrate the successes of obviously your colleagues, whether they're close to you, people you work with day to day, or perhaps they're people that you haven't met with but you've worked on a project. And I think we've tried to really harness that and bring that to a centralized place within the product. So you can see that it all really focuses on this centralized feed. You may notice some of the names look a little interesting. We have given it a bit of a Disney and Pixar theme, which we'll come on to a bit more in a moment. So as you can see, there's a whole different types of content, all the different thank yous that we've seen between Nanny and Cruella de Vil, but we'll come onto that again in a moment. One of the things we really harnessed is the power of media. So when you look at Facebook, we look at Instagram, it's just littered with pictures, with videos. That type of content is so powerful. It's great to be able to deliver a text message in any form, but be able to take that a step further and make it more engaging with a video, make it more light-hearted, or add some emotion to it in the way you deliver an image or a meme. And again, we've really tried to bring that to the forefront here. So this is a company-wide feed, all of the different recognitions that are given by people within the same department, across different departments, across different locations within an organization, all populate here. And they all have these elements of social interaction. So you can find something that you might agree with. And it's a sense of endorsement or reaffirming a positive message or recognition that's been given between two colleagues. And you might decide you'd like to like that, or you could add a comment and say, you completely agree, and that's, great work you've done this week. And again, just posting that, and I think it's hugely beneficial to the individual that's been recognised to know that they're receiving that secondary recognition by their colleagues that, I'd say, in some cases they may know. In other cases, it could be somebody in a distant office somewhere else they've never met. But having that ability to be able to share and express our thank yous across the business is huge. So let's actually take a quick look at how we go through that process. So in this case, we've loaded a whole series of Disney and Pixar characters in place of an organization. So we have I can search straight for somebody that I'm looking for, or I can go for a department quick search, which in this case is all of the different which in this case is all of the different films that these characters result in. So you can look for the relevant department or film. So I'm going to go for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, of course. I think there's a whole group of people here who don't really get the recognition they deserve for all the great work. Of course, the Seven Dwarfs. So let's pick those. All 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Just confirm. Yeah, we're happy. Haven't missed any out because I know that could be, be a bit awkward later on. Happy with that? Go through to step 2. So here's kind of a fairly important part of that process. You've picked the people you want to recognise, the people that have gone the extra step. It might be something fantastic they've done. It might just be something small. But being able to then decide how to get that message across and how can you relate that back to something that's appropriate and makes sense to the organisation. So in this example, we've loaded in all our 8 Benefex company values. And of course, these could be anything that makes sense to your organisation. They could be values, they could be awards, they could be cultural statements, cornerstones, or anything at all that you would like your employees to recognise their colleagues against. So in this case, as I look through them, I think Unstoppable Together sounds like a very Seven Dwarf-esque award. And then through kind of to the final stage where I decide, so what is it that I need to say? How do I get this message across in the best way? Is it something quite formal? Is it something quite quick? Is it something quite light-hearted? So I'm going to start off with a very just short message, just saying, great work, guys. Maybe I'll add an exclamation mark, maybe even a thumbs up. We'll go all out. Just put a little message in there, and then again, I could post that on its own. I might decide, actually, they've made an extra special effort recently, so I want to go a little bit further. So I'm going to add a meme. So I could take a photo, but in this case, I'm going to pick something pre-prepared, let's say. Mr. Burns, I think he probably adds to the message. So I'm just going to add some text on top of that in a very kind of creepy Mr. Burns way. Just say excellent. And again, just preview that. So this is the message that I'm going to send, and it's going to go to Bashful and 6 of his friends there, all 7 of them. Great work, guys, and Mr. Burns sort of reaffirming that. And then I'll just post that. And then sort of instantly, that's just going to appear on the company feed. As I say, that will be seen by people across the organisation. Each of the 7 dwarfs will then also see it. Quickly, it just pops up there. And again, regardless of where they are, if they're in the office, they're in a different location, they're on the other side of the world, they can interact and be thanked instantaneously, like you're in the same place at the same time. But actually, it could be anywhere. And each one of them would receive an alert, and again, they'll pick that up wherever they are, receive that, they might like it, they might go, actually, I want to reconfirm that, I want to recognise somebody else. So again, it's just creating that loop of thanks and engagement where it's a very accessible place where people can come to it on a frequent basis. I'm just going to try one more. So this time, I'm not going to go by department, I know exactly the person. Again, he's very enthusiastic, he's a bit of a keynote, he takes his job very seriously. That's Mr. Buzz Lightyear. And again, I have to pick a sort of relevant award that makes sense. And I think the one at the top, Believe in the Mission and Culture, sounds very Buzz Lightyear-esque, and it was written for him. And then again, to come through to this final part, to make a decision, something quick, something instant, something a bit more in-depth. I think this time, because it is Buzz, we should do something a bit more personal. So we're actually going to record a video for him. Hopefully he'll appreciate this. Ooh, not for myself. So we're going to require some audience participation. I think you'll probably know what's coming. So after 3, as loud as you can you all say, to infinity and beyond? All right, we've got that after 3. So ready? 1, 2, 3. To infinity and beyond. Fantastic, look at that. First time as well. Brilliant. So you can use that. I can replay it, but I trust you all, so I'm not going to replay that. It's perfect. And then again, that's ready to go, and I'll post that again. So that is a bit of a light-hearted way, but it just shows that it could be something quick, it could be a message, it could be something long, it could be a picture, a meme, a video. Whatever type of content sort of comes to mind, it's just creating this instant experience where it's accessible to everybody. It's easy to do. It's not a long-winded login process to a backwards system that is really a sort of onerous task that you think you only really want to do it once in a blue moon when someone's, saved someone's life. This should be sort of a momentary thing that I just want to say thank you. That's all I want to do. And again, in terms of how that looks to Buzz, so he'll have his own profile and he'll be able to see all the different recognitions he's received. That Believe in the Mission and Culture for him will appear there as a badge. So then when he's having it could be a monthly review with Mr. Potato Head or Slinky or whoever it is, he can then show all of those awards and be able to say, this is a reflection of all of the values that I've received. And again, it's just a really empowering experience for everybody involved. So I'm just going to jump back to something else on the slides that I think it's really important as well. So for us, in terms of recognition, as you can kind of imagine, there's a huge amount of data that we collect. And for us, data is absolutely key. It's huge within this process. There's so much we can do with it, as Matt sort of alluded to, across the wider organization, but certainly within recognition. And one of the big things we've been looking at is the interactions and the engagement that exists between colleagues in an organization, whether they're colleagues within the same department, whether they're colleagues across different departments. Is it the interactions between people across up and down a hierarchy? How does an employee interact with their manager? How does that manager interact with a senior manager, a director, a CEO? And how does that come back down the spine as well? Can we start to pinpoint or ask questions of the areas where we don't see that interaction? And again, I think it just starts to unpick as you start to look at these relationships that exist, and some of this data that I'll show will kind of visualize that or bring it to life. We can start to get to a position where we can start to replay this data back to you in such a visually appealing way, in a way that starts to open your eyes. These things are happening every day in different parts of your organization. These relationships, these conversations, these thank yous, they happen or they don't happen. But do we really see them? So here's a very strange-looking diagram that's actually come from the trial that we ran in November. So just to give you a sort of brief explanation, all the different colours around the outside represent one of the different departments of Benefex. The lines in between the colours represent the recognitions that were given from one department to another. And the thickness of the line at either end represents the number of recognitions that were given by that particular department to the other department. So if that kind of makes sense. So in this example, over on the right-hand side, the red department, you can see they've roughly given double the amount of recognitions to the purple department and vice versa. So in some cases, it might be clear, it might make sense. In this trial instance, the purple and the red is our product and development team. So they work very closely. They say thanks. They work together on a daily basis. So that was expected. Another sort of close relationship, one of the other big lines in there was between our sales and marketing team. And again, they work very closely together, so it was expected. But can you start to see where there's other relationships that you didn't quite know existed? Perhaps there's something you were expecting, but it's not there. If you look at the blue department on the left-hand side, you can see it's almost completely siloed. There doesn't have any meaningful relationships in terms of recognitions and interactions that existed from the trial. We've actually stripped out, it's a filtered version, so we've stripped out all the singular ones, I could imagine it get a little bit messy, and just left kind of the meaningful ones, the ones that were significant. And you can start to really build a picture of your organization. Is there a department there, like the blue one, for example, and I won't name any names, are they completely siloed? Is it expected that they don't interact? Is it the nature of the way they work? Is it where they're located? Or is it just that they do interact? They do a lot of things for other people and interact with different departments, but perhaps is it they just don't receive the recognition? And why do they not receive the recognition? Is it because there isn't this culture of thank you there? Is it because the process to give a thank you is too difficult? It's quite onerous. They only did a little thing. I'll wait till they do something significant, and then I'll say thank you. So again, it just starts to give you this idea of how you can start to unpick the layers of thank yous, the layer of interactions, the layers of engagement. And again, I just think the insight potential is absolutely huge. So another element that we started to look at was sentiment. So we've looked at how departments interact. So we know kind of the numbers of recognitions and who's interacting with who. But I think it's very important to also think about what is it that we're saying. So what we did as part of the trial, the system automatically assessed the words that we used as part of the recognitions that were given, and it attributed a sentiment value to that recognition. So essentially, how positive or negative was the sentiment, the words that we used. And again, it's just digging a little bit deeper so we can see the interactions, we can see, but what is it that people are saying? How does that differ in the way that we talk about each other within the team or the department? How does that differ to how we talk to people from different departments? And do we talk a little bit different to the people above us and below us? And we also did that with emotion. So again, attributed a score to that same recognition. How emotionally charged it was their recognition. Based on the punctuation used and the words used, we can see the sentiment, we can see the emotion. And again, it's just starting to build together this bigger picture of the interactions and the engagements that exist. And just to give you a kind of flavour of where we'd like to go with this in terms of the next step of this analysis, We've looked at a kind of a department level in terms of interaction, but we want to go a whole lot deeper and start to look at an individual basis. So how can we sort of visually bring to life the ecosystem of an individual? How can we see their touch points, their interactions across the whole organization, across the whole business? And again, how does that impact upon their performance? If we can see someone that's interacting with everybody from different departments, are they more engaged than the people that we see that don't really interact with anyone or just interact with the people in their team? And again, I think we can just start to unearth a whole new level of insight. So this is some trial data that we brought from the trial we ran at the end of November. And again, I think it is really interesting and insightful to start to picture this in a visual format. Again, you might almost see these things happening, these people talking to different people, but do you really see it? Do you really understand it? Do you understand the significance? It's only when you see it on a bigger scale, you start to really unpick the inner kind of workings or interactions that exist across different people within the organization. I think if we can get to a stage where we can start to understand whether the most engaged individuals have the widest social network, is that the case? Or can we start to predict or make a sort of informed guess of who could be the next team leader, who could be the next manager, based on the types of interactions we're seeing or not seeing? And I think if we can start to harness the power of all this data, we can then start to deliver a huge amount of insight to you as clients in terms of these interactions, the engagements, and the behaviours. I think there's so much more to come from us on this, so really do watch this space. And I guess kind of finally from me, I'm sure you're wondering when you can get your hands on Recognition. Well, it's actually sooner than you think. So the development of the product is still ongoing. We've made significant progress with the app, as hopefully you've seen. We've made really, really good progress with the web version as well. But there's still a fair bit of work to do with some of the other aspects around the administration and the setup of the product. But for today only, we are giving you exclusive access to our Recognition app. It is still in development, but we have managed to upload the latest version to the App Store. So if you haven't already, head to the App Store, search for Benefex. Once you've downloaded the app, you'll be able to log in with the username and password that you may have already received on a white card when you arrived. It may have seemed weird. It might have been like Buzz Lightyear, 1, 2, 3. Maybe it makes sense now. If you didn't receive one of those, if you head back to the reception, we'll be able to provide those for you. And again, just log in. It's a completely demo environment. Have a play around. Use all the different features. Try the videos, the memes. Just have fun with it. If you don't have an iPhone, no need to panic. If you head out to our product lab, we've got a number of iPhones where you can have a play around. We've also got some laptops set up so you can have a go with the web version as well. It's in development, but it's making sort of significant progress. So again, you can see how that would look within your organization. And I think ultimately, we're just really, really keen to get it into your hands and hear what you have to think. As always, your feedback is hugely important in terms of the process of how we move forward with this. And I guess in terms of when you can really get your hands on it, we are looking to launch this towards the end of Q2 this year. I think as a special birthday present to Matt, we would like to launch it on his birthday, the 19th of June. But I think you'll have to just wait and see for that one. So with that, I'll hand back over to Matt.
Cool. So, yeah, please do go have a play, go have a look, get involved. You can't break it. If you do, let us know. But hopefully, as you can see, and there's lots of work and energy and effort gone into the product, and we're trying to really marry both sides of a great experience at the front end with really giving you insight and data out of the back. And as Matt said, we've got a very, very busy roadmap of things we want to do to take it forwards as part of that. So go download it, get involved, and yeah, today there will be some prizes we're giving out. So for those, there's a prize for people logging in, there's a prize for the best meme, and there's a prize for the best video. So please, they'll be announced in Simon's session this afternoon. So when you've got a spare moment, download, log in like Matt said, and get involved as part of that. Matt's already talked about this. Apparently, I'm going to get a birthday present. That's a subtle hint to everybody now, because you all know, particularly people who work at Benefex, when my birthday is. Yeah, that'll be me buying everyone a present, probably. We're going to launch that and have it out with you guys in June of this year. However, we are working already with a foundation client group. So we are working with people who've already got the product, who are launching it soon, who are testing it with us. So if you want to be involved or more involved or helping us shaping that, or you're thinking about the world in the same kind of way as we are, let us know. We'd love to have you involved as part of that and giving feedback. Keep going. You're driving. The last thing to say is a massive thank you. I guess these events wouldn't be anything without you guys being here. I apologise once again for my tardiness this morning. It just genuinely wasn't for lack of effort that I didn't get here on time, believe me. I hope you have an amazing day. If you've got any feedback at all about how we're running the sessions, what we've got done, what we're doing, what we've got to say, please do let us know. There's a ton of other stuff we'd love to update you on about the products that we're running, the updates that we have either around benefits or indeed around recognition, but we wanted to keep it fairly short and sweet for today. So have a fantastic rest of the day. We're going to break now for lunch. Everyone will kind of guide you as you head out through there. I'm around all day, so if anyone wants to chat, tell us we've gone in the wrong direction or the right direction, or give us any other feedback, it'd be great to hear from you. Okay, thank you.